So the Midwest is covered in corn, like real corn, like corn on the cob, corn and soybeans. Like the amount of cropland in the Midwest that is covered by corn and soybean plants is equal to 1.7 Californias. I don't think people realize how much these two crops dominate our diets. As Americans, nearly 50% of our daily calorie intake includes some form of corn and or soy. Corn and soybeans are also the backbone of the ultra-processed foods industry. Think of any super processed food, sugary snacks, cereal, crackers, cookies, they all contain some form of corn and soy, which is also crazy because I don't think I know anybody that eats corn or soybeans that much by themselves. How exactly did these two crops come to dominate our lives so much? Well, like most things, it's due to corporate lobbying and its influence on public policy. So right after World War II, technological advances as well as programs from the U.S. Department of Agriculture encouraged farmers to grow unusually high numbers of corn and soybean crops. And this is mostly because meat production was increasing and corn and soybean are the basis for cheap livestock feed. But the government as well as farmers both knew that if you grew too much corn and too many soybeans, this would lead to overproduction, and that would cause the price of both crops to collapse, and that wouldn't be good for the farmers. But in the early 1970s, Big Agra started lobbying the government so they could sell more seeds and fertilizer, and before you know it, USDA Chief Earl Butz was encouraging farmers to plant corn and soybeans from fence row to fence row. And by the 1980s, we had an overproduction of both corn and soybeans on our hands, and of course, this made the prices for both crops collapse. Now, the food industry needed to figure out a way to sell all this additional yield. And that's when they figured out that the byproducts of corn and soybean processing, byproducts like cornstarch and soy lecithin, made for really convenient additives that made food a lot more addictive. And around this same time, the food industry created high fructose corn syrup, and that stuff started popping up in everything from sodas to baked goods. All of this basically created an environment where ultra-processed foods could flourish. Our food supply was stripped of its nutrients, and all these byproducts were put in place to make the food more tasty, more addictive, and ultimately more profitable. Now, it's not that these byproducts are all that bad for you, most of them aren't. It's just that a lot of our food doesn't contain the micronutrients we need, and that's why we have to eat so much more of it to feel full. And you're probably thinking, well, Corey, you're not even an agriculture guy, so how do you even know all of this? Well, I know it because I just read it in a new article from the Food and Environment Reporting Network. And you can go to thefern.org to read all of their new articles about ultra-processed foods, and then go to your kitchen and look at the back of the box of anything that's been processed and tell me how much corn and soy you see in it. It's really gonna surprise you.